guys, Alek Ackerman here with Grand Touring Automobiles, Aston Martin, Uptown, Toronto. I have something really special I want to talk to you guys about today. I want to fly back in time, if you will, to the year 2004. Aston Martin is manufacturing probably one of their most famous vehicles, the Series 1 Vanquish, and they chose this as an integral point for the brand. This vehicle was being made at the existing Newport Paganel facility. It really was the last coach-built Aston Martin in the sense that every single body panel on the car had to be hand-rolled out. They chose 2004 as a turning point for that actual product when they decided to take it to the next level with what they called the Vanquish S. This made the vehicle even faster and more extreme. We're talking a vehicle that would do over 204 miles an hour in 2004. In the year 2005, they very first brought this vehicle out to the market, and it was only sold for just 2 years in the Americas. And in those 2 years, they only sold over 1,000 of them in the entire world. So very, very exclusive, very, very low production numbers. Having said all of this, I have a very, very rare specimen of the Vanquish S that I want to show you guys today. Come on over and let's have a look. Alright, so this Vanquish S is a very, very rare specimen, as I just mentioned. One of the owners from the local Aston Martin Owners Club has kindly allowed us to place his vehicle on consignment. So this is a vehicle that is available for sale here at Aston Martin, Uptown, Toronto, but still technically belongs to that individual. Here it is. It's stunning, to say the least. Now, there's a couple points that I want to go over on the car and show you off these in detail. The first of which is the front splitter on the vehicle. Immediately you can sense something is a little bit different about Vanquish S, and that comes in with the very, very lowest portion of the splitter. It's extended ever so slightly. Subtlety, all what Aston Martin is about. But what it does is it actually gives the vehicle a little bit more downforce from the front end and allows it to go on to that higher top speed. The second thing that's immediately apparent about this Vanquish and makes it the Vanquish S are its unique wheels. I think most people recognize these wheels the most out of all of the Aston Martin Vanquish Series 1s, but little do they know it was a feature of the S. So to get these wheels, you had to have one of those desirable S's. Another unique detail on the vehicle comes on the inside. First and foremost, this is a very desirable 2+0 seating configuration. And what that means essentially is we have the 2 racing seats in the front and essentially a lightweight portion behind it, where the seats would regularly go on a traditional Vanquish. So with this in mind, it's a lot lighter than a regular production Vanquish. And the other thing here is that this actually has the racing seats. So these have much more higher bolsters on the sides of the seats, which creates sort of a unique quality. And lastly, they also have the Aston Martin logo embossed right in the center of the seat. This color, iron ore red, is still available today on Aston Martin, and I think it really sets off the interior especially well. The interior is also configured with the nice deep pile shag rugs that are actually like lined with leather around the outside of them. Nice detail. And also on the steering wheel, this particular one has the aluminum trim all surrounding it, which creates a very, very substantial feel to it. All told, the configuration and spec of this car speaks exclusive. It speaks unique, and it also speaks desirability, especially for something potentially, if you intend on buying now and then keeping for the future, this might even be an investment opportunity. Felt just a little bit like Pierce Brosnan closing that door because, of course, this was the vehicle featured in Die Another Day, and probably one of the most heroic vehicles in a Bond film of all time. Let's open up the hood and have a look underneath. Beautiful, exquisite 6-liter, technically on paper, 5,998cc engine. This is the classic Aston Martin V12. And I'll point out, because of the unique fact of this engine, that it is an S, they actually placed V12 and S on top of the engine. That's a unique little detail. But something that's definitely meaningful, maybe even more meaningful than that, is that they numbered every single engine at this point because of its exclusivity. So we have an engine number here on top of the engine. And this being a numbered vehicle, I think again it's gonna definitely carry more substantial nature in the future and potentially even appreciate value. We'll have to wait and see. Moving around to the back of the car, I want to show you a couple more things that are very cool about this vehicle. So the Details, it's all about the details. They have that beautiful line of polished steel that runs right around the vehicle. They also have that same line that runs through here, and it's polished to a mirror finish. It is exquisite. Now, if you stand back far enough, you can actually see the splitter on the rear, the diffuser for the aerodynamics. This again being a vehicle that was designed to actually go in excess of 200 miles an hour. It has a very, very aggressive split. And there is nothing quite as substantial on the road as one of these original Series 1 Vanquishes when you see it from the rear. It looks menacing. It looks like it's going to go very, very fast in a very, very short amount of time, which they often did. Beautiful. One more thing I want to talk about is Timeless Certified Pre-Owned. Now this is Aston Martin's brand new Certified Pre-Owned program for their vehicles. It is exclusively available at Aston Martin dealers, registered Aston Martin dealers. So in Ontario, that means Aston Martin Uptown and Aston Martin Downtown Toronto. This, to qualify, has to have a vehicle that's within 10 years from its original in-service date. So essentially what we mean by that is, if it's a 2008 vehicle, it'll probably qualify for Aston Martin's Certified Pre-Owned. This falling outside of those guidelines does not qualify for the warranty. However, even vehicles such as this have to undergo a rigorous program and inspection by a factory-trained technician. Only once we've fully looked the vehicle over will we consider it for sale. This particular example passed with flying colors, and as such, we decided to have it consigned within our dealership. But for a lot of people, this is a great way to own an Aston Martin. You can have a pre-owned vehicle, maybe 5, maybe 6 years old, and have actual unlimited kilometer Aston Martin warranty to go along with it, which really takes all of the guesswork out of ownership in an Aston Martin. And that again is exclusively available at Grand Touring Automobiles, Aston Martin Uptown Toronto, and Aston Martin Downtown. If you have any questions about our Vanquish S, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. And if you have any suggestions or comments, remember to subscribe for more and throw those in the comment section. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you on the next one.